Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we would talk about Valentine's Day, and why I used to hate Valentine's Day. Um, so really, one of the other things that that I am is I'm an author. So I wrote this book it was published in 2015. um so it says from single and hating it to single and loving it. So you can obviously tell that when I was single and hating it, I hated Valentine's Day. And really, the reason why I think I had such a strong dislike to the holiday was because at the time I felt very alone. I felt very lonely. I felt like Valentine's Day was just a reminder of yet another year that I'd gone through without, without someone in my life. So I went from one boyfriend. I wouldn't even call them boyfriend, I suppose. I went from one guy to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And that for me never really, there was a void that was in my heart that was constantly just there. And it felt like it didn't matter how many guys I was seeing at the time, it just never filled that void for me. And if anything, it just reminded me that I wasn't worthy to be loved, that I didn't really have value enough for them. And that wasn't the truth, obviously, but that was what I believed at that moment in time. And the reason I believed that was because in my head I thought, well, these guys are not committed to anything with me. They're not committed to a relationship. They're not committed to, to fiance. They're not. There was no commitment. If anything, it was kind of like friends with benefit. And that really just reinforced that little voice in my head that kind of said, well, see, that's because you're not worthy, that's because you're not, you're not enough. And that made me feel sadder and sadder with each and every time. And and every time we got to Valentine's Day, it was almost like a reminder of that. Like, oh, see, look at everyone else. They have everyone. And this is the thing as well, see, because when you're going through something like that, everything is always exaggerated. Because I used to think, oh, everyone else has got someone, everyone else is in a relationship but me. But obviously that wasn't the case. There's so many single people in the world that are, at any stage of this book, there's people that are single and currently hating it, there's people that are single and loving life. So that wasn't the truth, but at the time, that is really what I believed. And what changed for me was, I think it was one year where I'd just broken up with this guy who I was in a situationship with for about 5 years. Don't ask me how we got to 5 years. Because it wasn't like, we were not boyfriend and girlfriend. We were not, we were not committed. If anything, we were friends with benefits. And if I was to really think how it got to 5 years, was, I think, one, I always hoped that one day he would wake up and smell the coffee, and and realize that I was everything that he needed. It never happened. And I was also petrified of asking him, where is this going? And I think the reason why I was petrified was, I didn't really want to know the answer. I didn't want him to turn around and say, you know what, actually, you're not the one for me. This is not going anywhere. That was, I suppose, in a way, because I knew that was the truth. I wasn't really the one for him. But because I so badly wanted to be with someone, I thought we could make this work. We could get to a point where, you know what, we've been together 10 years and we've got nothing but each other. But that was not the way I really wanted to live my life. So I ended that situationship, and I was in my room, and I cried myself to sleep. And I remember saying to God, God, I am tired. I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over. over again. I'm tired of going around the same circle of, trying to find validation from a relationship, or validation from these men that I was seeing, trying to find someone that would tell me that I was beautiful, that I was loved, that, I was cared for. And I was just really tired of that whole circle. And I got honest, and I said, you know what, God, I something needs to change. I need to do things differently. And we live in a world where we all find comfort in different things, right? We find comfort in food, we find comfort in alcohol, we find comfort in books, we find comfort in faith. So some things obviously healthier than others. For me, at that moment in time, I found comfort in my faith. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna fast for 24 hours. And if you haven't really been fasting, and to then just say you're fasting for 24 hours, it takes its toll on your body. But for me, I felt like I needed to do something drastic, something that really should change. So I went back to what I know. And what I know was that I had a God who created me. I had a God who knew me before I was born. So I went back to him, and and I was fasting, and I said, God, something needs to change. I can't go through every single year feeling like this. I can't go through every single guy feeling like I'm just not enough. And that was really the beginning of me discovering my worth, discovering my purpose, discovering that, you know what, I didn't have to have someone in my life to know that I was valuable, that I didn't have to be in a relationship to know that I was loved. That I had a God who loved me beyond comprehension, who loved me with unconditionally, with no conditions. um and for me, that changed everything. um what I wanted to do, actually, I wanted to read an excerpt from this book, so you guys can really see where I was. Um, you know, um, uh, so I used my body to get whatever guy I wanted. I knew what buttons to press to have them lasting after me. Not only that, I didn't want guys who belonged to me. I wanted the ones who were taken, because this made me feel confident and powerful. I had my trust in my flesh. How sad. Uh, I read that honestly, and my heart breaks for this girl, who I was. Obviously, this girl was me. And because I look at that and I think, because I didn't feel like I was valuable, I didn't feel like I was worth anything. I wanted to be able to, oh, I've taken someone else's men, so I've got that worth, I've got that value because I've got their men. But really, I didn't. It's just said that that's how I thought at the time, and you may be thinking the same way, and I sympathize with you, because I know I've been there. But that didn't help. I went from one guy to the next. Each one left me feeling emptier than the last. I didn't understand why I felt the way I did. All I was to these guys was an object of lust. Who could blame them? That's what I was throwing out there. I was so heartbroken. I Sex was merely something I did when I was bored, something to occupy myself, something to help me feel like I was beautiful, wanted, cared for, and loved. And as far as I was concerned, it was just part of life. However, it just wasn't feeling that void I so badly wanted to feel. Instead, it left me feeling sad each and every time. I was trying to find validation from the world, validation from people around me, validation from the men I dated. We all we all do things for a reason. There's certain characteristics of our behaviors that happen because of something that's in our heart, or of how we feel about ourselves. So because I felt I felt little. I felt like I was of no value. I felt like, and the crazy thing is, when people looked at me from the externally, they saw a beautiful, confident young girl. Like I was bold, I was confident, like, or at least I appeared to be. But really, behind that mask of confidence, behind that mask of a beautiful smile, I was really just a girl trying to find all these shattered pieces of my heart. I was a girl trying to really find out who I was. And so yeah, so when I then, started fasting, and I probably had fasted about 18 hours, and I was laying in my bed and I was crying and I was shaking and and I remember that's the first time where this sense of peace and calm just came over me. And I, for the first time ever, this was probably when I really discovered that God does speak, because for me, He found me right in my room and He said to me, Christopher, what are you doing? Why are you punishing yourself? I took all your punishment because I love you unconditionally. I love you with no limit. Stop doing this. Get up and go and eat. Right? And that for me changed everything, because it was realizing, wait 1 second, I have God, the creator of the universe, my creator, that loves me beyond measure, that loves me with, He doesn't, we, in our world, we usually have conditions, right? We say, I love you because, I love you because you do this, I love you because you don't do that. But for me, to realize that I had someone that loved me not because of a reason, but because that was the very essence of who He was. He is love. That changed the game for me. I woke up and I was. It's like, when you have when you have a realization or a revelation that, you know what, for God to love me, or for someone to love me before I even loved myself, like, how much value, how much worth do you have, And I think that's where I really, if you're going through a really hard time and you're struggling with Valentine's Day, I sympathize with you, I empathize with you, because I was there. And and you may be you may have different reasons to me, as to why you dislike this holiday, and I completely understand that. And one thing that I would encourage is to really just sit down and meditate and find out why you're so triggered by this holiday. For me, I was triggered because I thought it was a reminder that I just wasn't good enough. It was a reminder that no one wanted to be with me. And the only thing that changed was realizing that I had someone that loved me, and loved me before I could love myself. And really, when I wrote this book, I shared with so much honesty, of the things that I went through, and I shared about how I found myself through my faith. I know that we live in a world where we find ourselves through so many different things, and for me, faith was it, because faith made me realize that I was created, and to be created, I was created with a purpose. And the moment I discovered my purpose, I realized the value that I had, and that was a value that no human being could ever give me. That was no human being could ever fill that void, and the only person that did was God. So I went from hating being single to loving being single, because it was a time of self-discovery, a time of really finding out what my strengths are, what I'm really called to do, what I love to do, and and in doing that, I then started loving Valentine's Day, because for me, I realized that, what, there is a God that loves me. So yeah, so happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And so my book is actually available if you would like to read it. It's available on my website, which is www.iamchristobal.com. And I hope it really encourages you, because it encourages me when I read it now as well. And yeah, have a great day, everyone, and see you in the next episode.